Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nikco Riesgo. Nikco, how are you?
Russ Cohen, my man.
And Mike Augello, how are you?
I'm going to be a little less dramatic than that. Hello.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be. All right, so let's talk about everything that went on in baseball. I'll start with Nikco, but Nikco, I I watched that Brewers series. In game two, I was like, geez, the Mets kind of blew it. Game three didn't look so great. I even had a, not great tweet about Pete Alonso, which I hadn't done anything about Pete in months. And I had been frustrated, like most Met fans, for at least a month and a half. And he really didn't do much, in the playoffs. But here he is. He gets the big hit, and he wins it for the Mets against the Brewers. The interesting thing was, somebody had put online a friend, Dennis Gorman, who we've had on our hockey show, and he was like, "What home run does that remind you of?" And I was instantly replied, Todd Pratt against Arizona. Arizona when they beat them, and I think it was Jim Edmonds that put the glove over his head. Now that was a walk-off, I think, but this one wasn't. But it still was pretty potent. Now, before that, 3-4 hours before the game, Nikco, you sent me a text that said, "I am lifting the curse." Now, I don't believe in curses, but I have to say that game did end in spectacular fashion. But I'm also going to let you know, Nikco, that I am not going to believe in the curse unless the Mets win the World Series. If they win the World Series, then I will believe that you did indeed have a curse on the Mets. But what are your feelings?
I've been waiting 30 years for this call, Russ, and 30 years to see some dynamics and some stars align that I can, with all my heart and soul, lift the curse of the Mets trading one of their greatest players in the history of their franchise
Now, Nikco, I will
to
tell you
overcome
this.
and win a world championship.
Okay.
Are we talking about Floyd Yeomans?
That's a good one, Mike. That's a good one.
I'm going to say this, Nikco. I was listening to SiriusXM the other day, and Steve Phillips was talking, and he gave a story about when he was in the minors, and he was trying to get 40 steals, and he had 39 steals, and he thought he had stolen home. He went to go steal home, and turns out it was a balk, so they just gave him home, and he only had 39 steals. But you had more than that. You had 46, right? Something like that.
I did have 46 stolen bases, and another thing, it was just the mentality that you bring to the ballpark every single day. I was bleeding the New York Met blue and orange. It was a dynamic that you could just feel. It was infectious. It was momentous. It was a dynastic. It was something that you want to keep in that locker room and a culture and cultivate. And we haven't seen anything for 30 years like it until a young man named Pete Alonso, that's homegrown, was built for the foundation of a dynasty. The Mets have tried to cultivate him, but did not know how to build around him. We have gone through the most challenging season with him. He has had the most challenging burden on his back, not being offered what obviously is his due. We all seen him come, and it's an amazing feature, and it's what the game is. We see it every single year, something amazing, and it's time for the amazing Mets to show out.
Mike?
Coincidentally, I stole 46 pumpkin spice flavored Tootsie Rolls today from the store. Okay.
Well, you should be
I'll
prosecuted then if that happened
yeah, yes. Well,
to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, never mind. I was going to say something, but never mind. But I'll just say this, because as a noted Mets hater, because I was my team in the National League is the Cardinals, my team in the American League, and my team is the Yankees that I've rooted for since I was 11 years old. I'm happy for the Mets. I'm happy, and I mean it was a dramatic home run for a player. that has had, I think, a difficult year in Alonso. Now, it's funny that Nico says, well, he's a homegrown Met. I'm not sure how much longer he is going to be a homegrown Met. If I
Right. That
was,
could have been his last at bat, though. Like that was
yes.
possibly his very last at bat. That's what made it even more dramatic.
Yeah, so and I watched and listened to the Michael Kay show most days, and they were talking about dramatic home runs in the history of New York baseball, and of course Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world is still number one.
Yeah, this
You,
isn't anything like that.
no, but they and maybe it's recency bias, but in terms of like home runs, not Reggie's home run in the World Series but this was they rated it ahead of Aaron Boone's home run to get the Yankees past the Red Sox in
No
'03.
way. Sorry.
And I don't agree. I don't agree with that either. But they did rate it ahead of Pratt.
They shouldn't have.
And
It's on the same level as Pratt.
yeah,
Exactly.
but it's dramatic. But
Yeah.
the thing is, it wasn't a walk off. And the thing
No.
is that you know, if I'm not mistaken, Milwaukee got the runner on in the ninth inning, and there
Oh
was
yeah.
an inning and a double play. So this game
Yes.
was not in locked in place. So I give the Mets a lot of credit. They had to exhaust their rotation and their bullpen to get past Atlanta. Lindor hits the big home run in that first game with that psychotic 8-7 game.
Yeah.
And
With a bad back. I mean, the thing about Lindor is like he scored a run in that game and then he crawled for a few inches. Like he's really going through it. And it was pretty dramatic the way he got the inning ending, game ending double play, too, because he was like 6 steps away from the bag and he did it himself. Like he wanted to do that. And that's what great players do. And
yeah, and he's been a great player for a long time. I mean, going back to
yes.
Cleveland, and there were some doubters, especially after he signed the $34 million a year 10-year contract. But
And especially this year, because he didn't hit the 2 months and people were
Yeah.
killing him. I didn't send one bad tweet out. I want to point that out.
Yeah,
I had faith in him.
You showed remarkable self-control. I had to talk you off the ledge, not trading him in our fantasy baseball league, Russ.
Yeah, sure you did.
But but I will say this though, I'm stunned, and I'm sure we're going to get into this. The fact that Kodai Senga, who has not pitched since I think he pitched like 4 2/3 great innings and then got hurt and hasn't pitched since July, is going to be their game 1 starter. I'm dumbfounded that that's what they're going to do, but that's what they're going to do.
So here's the thing. All right, I thought about this, and look, they were hinting towards Tyler McGill being the starter, and then I follow Tyler McGill's mother on Twitter. Sorry, Elon, I'll never call it X. And she was like, "Hey, he's starting. I'm flying," and they changed their mind. I think this is why they changed their mind, and Nico can speak to this. This is my thought. So, they used Diaz for a lot of innings, a lot of pitches the last couple of outings, like 104 pitches in like 4 outings. It's a lot, but he's a big guy. I think he can handle it. He's at least got a day off today. They used up a lot of the bullpen. Matan has been used way too much down the stretch. So there's that. And Peterson just pitched the 9th because it was his bullpen day. They pushed it back a day. And so my feeling was Senga. Now they know Senga's biceps tightened up on his last bullpen session. And he never even, pitched after that. And so my thought was this, Nico. The only thing the Mets can do is put Senga out there for an inning, maybe 2 if he can do it, if he can gut it out. And then they can put in Peterson for the rest of the game. Because when you flip around those Phillies lefties, when the Phillies lefties are just hitting left, I looked up some of the key guys, and Schwarber hits fewer homers. Realmuto this year has hit fewer homers. They haven't faced a lot of lefties this year. So Harper's Harper. He's going to hit everything. But just those 2 guys, if you lessen those 2 guys, and, and I was chatting with somebody about this, and they were like, well, this is kind of pedestrian. The Phillies don't have to bite at it. I'm like, no, they don't have to. But they don't really have a choice. It's like Senga beat him last time he pitched against them. He had like 3 hits, 7 innings, no runs. So they don't know if he can make it or not. They don't have any advance reporting because he was throwing in Florida at Mets camp, so it's closed. So this is the only element of surprise they have, and this is like an old baseball trick. And so, Nikko, that's what I think they're doing. What do you think with Senga?
I think you said it. It's the element of the surprise. It's the joker in your pocket, and they've got a master who has proven this year to overcome all of his criminal crime that he has come into the game when he traded away all of the veterans and he gave up on the Mets, and he learned his valuable lesson about this game, that you never give up on your players. It's never over till it's over. And that's exactly what we've seen this year with the Mets. We've seen an owner who stepped up, who saw the greatest players in the world, who had a lack of leadership from the top, to put it out there to them that's saying, hey, we are going to send anyone down to the minors who is not ready to step up to the level that I am putting this team on, put it on my shoulders, and I expect every single player to play as the greatest players in the world that they are. And that's exactly what he's done. He's instilled confidence in these players. It goes down, it starts with the top, and then it goes to that manager in the dugout. You got to give Mendoza all the credit in the world for putting this team together, for keeping the egos and all of the dynamics around Alonso, and the challenge of getting through a long season. That we've seen that it takes a long season to get through it, and you've got to get through the grind. But when you get to the paradise of the players, hey, anything can happen. And that's the greatness of the game.
What do you think about this development of my thoughts?
Well, not bad for a Yankee bench coach. He's done a great job. No doubt.
Yeah, he has. I mean, there's been some bullpen issues, and there was even in game 2. But no, I mean, he's done a good job, no question.
I mean, everybody, he went 0-5 at the beginning of the year, and everybody were calling for his head after 5 games.
Some were, yes.
Some more, the more reactionary fans, not you, Russ, because you know the game. But the funny thing is like, and I don't understand, because I thought the same thing you did. I thought, okay, are they putting Senga in there because they're going to try to get the Phillies to start their their lineup against right-handed pitching, and then they're going to switch to a lefty? And I looked at what the Phillies played against the Washington Nationals in one of their last games in the regular season against the lefty, Gore from the Nationals. Schwarber, lefty. Harper, lefty. Real Muto, lefty, all played. So,
well, they're going to play, but they don't hit as many homers.
No, they don't. But I'm saying like there would be an advantage if they had, a platoon, if they had 2 or 3 platoon guys and they subbed them in. But granted, Schwarber is not the hitter against the lefty, or Real Muto, but it's not like you're going to like take those guys out, or you're going to sit those guys against a righty pitcher, or against the lefty pitcher. So I don't know how much of an effect is. I just look at this series, and I mean, the Mets have the Phillies where they want them, in the sense that nobody thinks they're going to beat them. The Phillies rotation is set. They're rested. They got Wheeler in game 1. Our mutual friend Anthony says they're going to start Christopher Sanchez, who had a really good year, lefty, in game 2. Their rotation is set, and the Mets, obviously it's going to either be a bullpen game, or they have, in the sense that, the Phillies should feel completely confident going into the series. Does that mean they're going to win? Not a chance. I think, the advantage for the Mets is they played this team, 18 times. They've been
good against them. They've been really good.
So I think that the, sort of the intimidation factor, if they were playing against the Dodgers and they were flying coast to coast, then it wouldn't be, then there would be a greater hurdle. But I think the Mets have a chance. I think they're going to win the series? No, but I think they have a chance in this series because it's an opponent that they're very familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say, now this year, I mean, before this year, the Mets record was really good against the Phillies. This year, 6-7, but also those games in London, like the Mets were a different team, so I don't even really count that. But it's going to be a really good series. I think it'll be a long series. I'm not even going to predict it because I just think it'll be that tight. I know there's, some over the top fans that I heard calling sports radio. They're like, the Phillies are going to sweep, and it's like they're not going to sweep. They don't have enough pitching to sweep.
And Russ, by the way, the curse is still in place.
Oh, Nikco,
not for me, but it's still in place.
All right. Well, we'll see about that. Now we can get to the Royals Yankees series. The Royals have been really good. I was surprised the Orioles really had no offense. I thought if nothing else, they'd have offense. They got good pitching, and so that's a surprising thing. I will say this: I like the Royals. I mean, certainly these are not your George Brett Royals, but they have a superstar on the team, and that's fine. The Yankees should win this. Everybody knows the Yankees should win this. They have home field. If the Yankees don't win this, then something's really wrong. I don't care what the Royals look like. They're not this high-powered offense. They have pretty good pitching, but if you're going Michael Wacha in Game 3, that's when the Yankees should be able to really take advantage. So
they're going with Michael Wacha in Game 1.
Well, I guess because of the way it falls out. So Game 1, Michael Wacha, like that's a huge edge for the Yankees. So
I mean, he's not the Michael Wacha that pitched for the Mets, but
he's not the Michael Wacha of the Cardinals either.
No, but he has had 2 good years with San Diego and with Boston before he signed the contract with Kansas City. So he's not, and he had a pretty decent year. I think his ZRA was about 3.2 this year. So he's a veteran pitcher. He's a decent pitcher. But to your overall point, the Yankees have no goddamn excuses. I'm sorry, as somebody who is, like they have not been to a World Series since 2009. They made this monstrous trade with the Padres to get Juan Soto. They're not in a wild card situation where they couldn't line up their rotation. Their rotation is lined up perfectly. Their bullpen is rested. Now are they the overwhelming favorite against the Royals? Yes. Does that mean the Royals can't win? No. But the gods. The gods are wearing pinstripes because they eliminated the 2 teams that were the biggest challenge to the Yankees, and that was the Houston Cheaters and the Baltimore Orioles, because the Orioles are a great team with a lot of young talent, and I thought their pitching isn't that great, but their hitting I think would have caused the Yankees some problems. Not to say that Cleveland or Detroit or Kansas City can't beat them, but there are no excuses anymore. This team has to win. The pressure is all on them because they're the overwhelming favorite in the American League. You've got Cleveland and Detroit, and you've got 3 teams from the AL Central, a division that the Yankees normally dominate. So the excuses are gone.
Nico, I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is a superstar. Salvador Perez is still really good. I don't know how he's doing it. Vinny Pasquantino's on his last leg because he came back off an injury. This is a massive advantage for the Yankees. How do you see it?
I see that it goes through the judge. It all depends on what he wants. If he wants to take it all, I think he's got the talent to put it in his hands almost every at bat to put it out the ballpark. That's how good he is. And we're going to see a dynamic show. We're going to see Soto, and we're going to see hopefully some pitching with Cole.
I mean, Cole's a little, he's not himself right now. So, but he's still pretty good.
But
yes, and I think Russ, Mike is spot on. He's spot on. This is the time. If the Yankees were going to do it, the Orioles are out of it. They had one of the best seasons that they've ever had. Everyone thought the Orioles were going to win. Again, the Astros, the Nemesis, who the American League champions over the last 7 years in a row, they're out of it. So Yankees would be the favorite. But when you look at the stars and you look at the game and you look at who beat the Astros, who beat the champs of the American League, you look at the Tigers. So the Tigers will rise up to the top. The Tigers are the team in the American League.
Bang the garbage can slowly. But Nico, first of all, Cole in his last 7 starts, I saw this. He's 6-1 with an ERA under 2. So he seemed to get back to the Cole that we know, and that sort of
I don't
Cy
think he's
Young
as
form.
dominating, though, Mike.
He's not. No,
Fastball
he's
and
not.
otherwise.
No, he's not. I don't think he's as sharp as he was last year. But it was easy last year because he really had nothing to pitch for because they were 82-80. I mean, but Nico, let me ask you this because. I mean, I agree in part with your assessment. It's going to be a lot about Judge, but we know from watching playoff baseball all these years, it's easy to pitch around one guy in a lineup. With the Royals, I mean, the Yankees are going to probably try to pitch around Bobby Witt Jr. and let a slow old Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino kill them if that's the formula. With the Yankees, now that they have Soto, they got that back to back. It's going to be a lot tougher for teams. They're not going to put 2 guys on in front of a guy like Stanton. So I mean, I think it's a more difficult hurdle for these teams facing the Yankees when you got the J&J boys back to back.
Okay. Look,
I agree.
So we'll move on to Detroit, Cleveland. Look, I've been impressed with the Tigers. I was rooting for the Tigers. I mean, Mike, we saw them play a year ago, and we were like, they shouldn't be this bad. Well, they're not now. So that's, although nobody knows how they did it. Like, they just had a magical ride there, and they've kept it through. But they're going to hit trouble. I mean, Cleveland's got the best bullpen in the game. Like, it's not even close. And they have a lot of hitting. But that bullpen is what does it. I mean, we can go through their lineup, but I still think it's the hitting that does it. And Tanner Beebe is going to start game 1. And Mike, we know about him because I scouted him for our fantasy team. I'll take credit for that one. But he's a good pitcher. And I've listened and watched some of the the Guardians games. I just can't get it straight. And yeah, Ramirez really is one of the best players in baseball, and he doesn't get that kind of pub because of where he's playing, but he's just tremendous. Like, another year of 39, 118. Like, if he was in New York, forget it. He would, he'd be a superstar. But I just like what they bring. I like what the Tigers do too. And, the Tigers don't even have their best starter going game 1. I think it's an advantage for Cleveland, and I think, that's who I'm favoring in this. I don't know how you feel, Nico.
One of the greatest things about this American League challenge with the Tigers is that not only are the Mets overcoming their curse of trading me, greater curse.
Wait, you broke
the
up.
Second that released me from right before the strike here, and they decided not to protect me during the strike.
Who released you? We couldn't hear.
The
Tigers. Okay.
The Tigers. So we have 2 curses going on during this championship season. We've got the curse, and we've got the curse of the Tigers. And the curse of the Tigers is even more dramatic because at the second that the Tigers notice, right before the players' strike of 1994, instead of protecting me during the strike, they decided to just let me out there on my own with my family and my 3 kids. And I looked the player director in the eye, and I let him know directly that the Tigers will never win a World Series in my lifetime with these decisions that they make on paper. And
I mean,
because
did you
of a player like
just
a
to be fair,
and because of a manager. Excuse me?
Nico, to be fair, did you say that to the Expos too?
He said it to 30 teams.
No, but I'm just talking about the teams that had them. No. Okay.
The Tigers are the only direct management to player, eyeball to eyeball, where I basically looked at them and I told them they will never win. Now, after the fact where I've left these teams, I have talked about the curse of that there's no way they should have left me, and I put the curse on them after the fact. But with the Tigers, it's so dramatic because I looked at the player director in his eyes and I told him as a young player that they would never win in my lifetime. And it's been 30 years since they never won. And I tried to release the curse when they were in it. When I lived in Detroit for a little bit, with they had Maglio and they had that little chance. They had the Scherzer. I released it then. I was really gravitating. I was in the stadium hoping that they would win it.
See,
They did
Russ?
not win it. But again, they've got a player like Parker Meadows who's come around. They've got a manager in the dugout, AJ Hinch, who basically I came up in the game with a guy like AJ Hinch. And he is another special gift to the game. And he has bringing the dynamic to the Tigers with his young team that absolutely I sign off. There is no curse on the Tigers. And let's see the Tigers and the Mets battle it out.
Well, I'll just say,
The
like I
battle of
said,
the curse.
nobody took more joy in the Tigers beating the cheaters than I did, because I mean, they're sort of that Cinderella story, because really, they were essentially given up at the trade deadline. They traded off a few players.
Yeah, they almost had a
They,
0% chance of making it. It was just
right.
above zero.
They traded, was it Flaherty to the Dodgers, and if you look at their lineup in the two games that they played against the Astros, I mean, it's a hodgepodge. I mean, the guys that we saw last year when they played the Angels at Comerica, like hardly any of those guys are in the lineup. Torkelson's in the lineup. You got Trey Sweeney playing shortstop. You've got I mean, they have the Cy Young Award winning starter in the American League in Skubal. I mean, no doubt he's going to run away with it. No, now they're starting. I think it was Holton in game one.
Yes.
But because of the way the scheduling is set up, they can start Skubal on full rest in game two, and then I think he's going to go. He could go on short rest in game five if it gets to that point. So, I mean, I think they don't want to do him on short rest right now, because I don't think they have to. But I mean, they somehow win game one. They put the pressure on Cleveland, and then you got the potential Cy Young guy going in game two. I mean, it's not out of the question. I mean, I talked to Kevin Allen, who's a big Tiger fan and is based in Detroit, and he's basically their bullpen has just been a sort of bullpen by committee with Brisky and Foley, and so
it's not like
really,
Cleveland.
It's not like Cleveland. It's going to be Clase as the closer, and they've got a really good lineup. They should be favored. They were one of the two teams that got the early bye to the Divisional Series, but again, just like Kansas City, there's a capability there for these two underdogs to win. So I mean, I'm going to be watching, because nothing's a fait accompli.
Sure. And before we talk about Dodgers, Padres, I beg of Fox, I beg of you, the same I was begging ESPN, make it clear where you're showing these games, because when you all of a sudden start switching it and you say at the bottom, hey, it's not on Fox, it's on FS whatever, FS20, it's like, it's not the easiest thing for people to adjust and find, because we never watch these channels.
Well,
we just don't watch them.
Well, get this. The Mets Brewers game 3 was scheduled to be on ESPN2.
I know.
So I'm watching it on my computer, using the app for the cable provider that I have locally. Right. And because it's scheduled on ESPN2, on ESPN1 it has to be announced. They have nothing scheduled there, and you could not watch it on the cable provider, because if there's no programming, it won't allow you to watch it.
If it's not listed in there,
Right. If you didn't if you didn't have ESPN Plus, then you were shit out of luck. But luckily I did, so I could watch it.
Yeah, that was brutal. Okay, so for Padres Dodgers, for me, it's boiled down to this, and I like what the Padres have done. Believe me, and I think Tatis is back, and Machado is certainly a great player, although he never seems to do it for our fantasy team, but he does it in the postseason. All that said, without Joe Musgrove, him getting Tommy John, they're not going to beat the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, I'm not saying they look like the best team, and I don't even think Ohtani's going to pitch. I think they're fooling around with that. But I just don't think San Diego can overcome this pitching-wise. But, Nico, I'm not sure where you think.
Well, let me share a story about the love-hate relationship that I have with the Dodgers. Okay,
Okay,
it's a semi-curse. Okay, it's a semi-curse. It's a love-hate curse. Okay, I love them because I'm born and raised right here in Long Beach, California. I grew up with Vince
Hmm.
Scully, listened to every single game on the radio. I love the Dodgers with all of my heart, my passion, but I hate them with that same heart and that same passion because they never signed me. They never let me play for the Dodgers. They never let me win a world championship for the Dodgers. And I just hate them so much. And every time I played against them, I hit over 400. I smashed the ball. The ball is a big watermelon. And I just couldn't wait to hit it when I played the Dodgers. So the Dodgers have a semi curse. Can they get over it? No. In not my lifetime. They've got to Tani, he would be the only reason that I would ever even think about lifting this curse off of the Dodgers. They need to sign me as an executive to help them win a Dodgers,
Jesus.
fulfill my dream as a little kid to win a world championship with the Dodgers. And I don't believe that they will ever win a world championship in my lifetime without me winning that ring with them.
Yeah, I mean, you're not Fred Claire. And I've chatted with Fred Claire many times, and I don't know, Nico. I get what you're saying, but what about the series? Forgetting about all your pettiness, what about the
I'd
series?
be an executive advisor.
Okay,
I
fine.
think,
What
again,
about
because of
the
the semi
series? I
curse,
don't. I don't want to hear
because of
about
the
that.
Yeah.
semi curse,
No
there's
personal
also the
narratives here,
Padres.
Nico.
There's also the Padres. You go. There's a story with the Padres. I'm a former
No,
Padre as
no,
well, so
You're
please.
also a
there is
former
a legacy.
Philly. You're also a former
You're
Philly,
right.
but you never
You're
cursed
right.
them.
This whole
So
series
everybody in the
is a
playoffs you've
dynamic of
touched.
semi
Yeah.
curses
Nico,
and and,
somebody
and,
somebody
and
has to win. Somebody has to
and
win.
Thank
unlived
you.
opportunities. Okay, the Padres have not won a world championship. Okay,
Ever.
opportunity with
Right.
me, with Tony Gwynn, with a dynasty. So many players have played under the
Yeah.
Padres rule.
But
The
you even
Padres have
told me
no
Tony
clue
Gwynn
how to
was
put it
nice to
all
you.
together.
Tony
Yeah.
Gwynn was nice to you. You have nothing against
He's my
him.
mentor. Tony Gwynn is my mentor. He is my
by the
mentor.
way,
He is
by the way,
my,
Nico,
my one of the reasons I play this game.
who did they get swept by in '98? By the way.
Who's at the Padres?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, we
talking about the
know.
No,
Tigers?
the '98 Yankees.
The
No,
Yankees.
but
The
okay.
Yankees.
Let's actually get to this series because, I
It'll
mean,
be a good
yes,
series.
it'll be a good series, and the Musgrove injury I think hurts them a lot. But if you look at like what they probably are going, and they're probably going to go with three starters in their rotation. Their game one is Dylan Cease, who they got from the White Sox, who's an
Hmm.
excellent pitcher. Game
Yes.
two is Michael King, who's had a phenomenal year for them. Under 3 ERA and over 200 strikeouts. And then game three is probably Yu Darvish. And he won four his last four starts. So it's not like they're going to who was the guy in the 1919 World Series who pitched but anyway, there's
Yeah.
some scrub who ended up pitching a two-hitter. It's like, they have adequate pitching. It's just a question of whether you can, neutralize Ohtani and that lineup with Freeman, and that's going to be the tough thing. But I think they have a puncher's chance. I'm not saying the Dodgers are
They
going to.
do. No, they have a puncher's chance. I'll tell you the one thing that's kind of amazing, though, between Yamamoto and Darvish and Otani, if they were able to calculate how many eyeballs are watching this series from around
Oh
the
God,
world, it would be insane, the amount.
they should start the games at noon so people in Japan can watch it.
They're going to watch it anyhow. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, yeah, at 2 o'clock in the or whatever. I don't know what the
Yeah.
time difference is between U.S. but between the West Coast and Japan. But yeah, you're right.
I think it likes 12 hours, so I think it might be okay.
Yeah, so if Hideki Matsui was in the lineup too, that or Hideki Arabu, then you have a
Yeah.
few more people.
But it's a lot. And I just look at the lineups and I'm like, I think the Padres can match them, the Dodgers lineup wise. The Dodgers lineup, other than Otani, doesn't really scare you except for Betts and Otani. Though
Well,
Freeman,
that's
most
Otani and Freeman. Yeah.
yeah, Freeman most of the time is really good. But I don't think they strike fear into you. I think the Padres can score runs and stuff. But I just look at the Dodgers starters and I'm like, yeah, they're just better now without Musgrove. I think that's a big key. And we'll see what Yamamoto can do. Like, this is a big deal. If he outpitches Cease, that's then he's worth the signing that they did.
I actually think that the Padres have a more complete lineup than the Dodgers do, because you're talking
Yeah.
Profar, who had a great year.
Mhm.
Arise is a batting champion. Merrill is probably going to win NL Rookie of the Year. Bogarts has been in World Series, and Tatis. I mean, 1 through 9, they're probably a better overall lineup, but the kingpin is Ohtani. He's the best. He's going to win the MVP in the National League.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is um, that the Dodgers always get like great production out of guys, and you never know who that star is going to be, and because they're able to draft so many guys, and so they always get guys coming out of the woodwork to do well for them. But I still think the Padres will give them all they can handle, but I like the Dodgers. And just for those people, I'll I'm saving it to the end for who I think is going to win Mets Phillies, because I didn't want anybody to tune out. But I'm going to pick. Go ahead.
So game 1, it's going to be Cease versus Yamamoto. Game 2,
Yes.
it's Darvish versus Flaherty. So they're gonna save Michael King to game 3. I
Okay.
mean, again, so they went with the more experience, because Darvish has pitched in postseason before. So, I mean, again,
But Darvish isn't Darvish anymore either.
no, he's not. He's not the same Darvish. But I mean, again, the one thing that the Dodgers don't have that the Yankees do have is they really don't have adequate protection for Ohtani. You can pitch around Ohtani in a playoff
Yeah.
scenario. Now Betts
But you
is
don't
a
want to walk
killer.
him though, because if you walk him, Betts is a killer. But if you walk Ohtani, that's a problem, because now he steals at will.
Yeah, true.
But you cannot forget about the curse, okay? I
Oh,
have
Jesus
signed off
Christ.
on the Padres with the legacy of Tony Gwynn. The Padres will have an opportunity to win the World Series this year. The Dodgers, unfortunately, they will not have that opportunity.
Now,
That's fine,
Nico,
Nico.
what I'm asking for here is I want you to place a curse on the Pittsburgh Pirates for what they did to Rowdy Tellez, because they deserve a curse. All these other teams, maybe they don't deserve one, but the Pirates do. So please place the curse on them.
Well, they've
Now,
got a special player like Paul Skenes, who's probably going to win the Rookie of the Year, not Jackson Merrill, one of the greatest
Merrill's going to
phenomena
win it.
that the game has
Merrill's
Merrill's
going
ever
to
going to
win
win.
it.
seen. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see.
Okay.
That's what's
Okay.
great about it.
That's fine. Last thing I'll say is that Terry Francona is signing now for the Reds. He's got his work cut out. Unless the ghost of Shotzi is going to help him out, the Reds can never get out of their own way. And they have some talent, but they just don't have enough. I don't know. I don't know what Francona can do there, Nico.
And why does he announce it before the World Series, before Cleveland is going for one of the biggest opportunities that his history has ever had? Francona was a part of it, couldn't get it in Cleveland. Now Cleveland has a chance to get it. He has to come in and try to overshine their moment. I think it's a bad move on Francona. I think it's a bad look for Cincinnati. I think he should have retired into the sunset as a legacy. And hey, we'll see what happens.
Hey, I don't begrudge him coming back after he retired with Cleveland if he's feeling, because he apparently retired for health reasons, and now maybe things were straightened out and he can go back on the bench. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, just wait till after the World Series. Wait till after Cleveland wins it all.
Well,
all right. So because Mike did interrupt me when I was going to pick who's winning Mets Phillies. No, it's okay. You created some extra drama. I think the Mets will take it in 5. There's no way the Phillies are winning in 4. There's no way the Mets are winning in 4. Nobody's winning in 4. And Sanchez pitched against the Mets just a few weeks ago when I was there, and the Mets did hit him up pretty good. They lost that game, but they did hit him pretty good. So as good as he is, I don't know if it matters that it's Sanchez over Nola, to be honest. So that's a thing where I think the Phillies don't trust Nola sometimes, and this year especially.
Are we going to make predictions around the board?
Yeah, we might as well. Sure. So, yeah, I'm going Mets in 5. Nico?
Mets in 5.
Mike?
I'll go Phillies in 4.
Okay. I'm going to go Dodgers in 4. Nico?
Padres in 5.
Mike?
Dodgers in 4.
I'm going to go Yankees in 4. Mike?
Yankees in 5. They'll make you sweat.
Nico?
Yankees in 3.
In 3. I'm going to go Cleveland over Detroit in 5. They have home field. I think that's going to matter. Mike?
Detroit in 4. Going for the upset.
Okay. Nico?
Tigers in 5. The curse is released.
All right, we'll see. I mean, just so people understand, too, the first time I ever conversed with Nico is when he found my sportsology, the baseballology part of it, and he sent me pictures of old Tiger Stadium, and it was like really decrepit, and he went inside, he took pictures, and he really kind of got me involved in that. And I was just like, yeah, this is terrible. So he has a soft spot for the Tigers. He does.
And there's a legacy there. And the Tigers are one of the greatest organizations that the game could ever produce.
And you like Jim Leland. I mean, people should know that.
So you bought him a pack of Marlboros.
It's Sparky Anderson. Sparky Anderson is my guy. And Sparky Anderson is the kind of leader that you'd have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to beat him to the ballpark to get ready for your day. And that's the kind of leadership that exudes on every player who plays for him. And there's no reason in the world why he, is the legacy that he is. I mean, he is just an amazing Hall of Fame coach.
And Russ, what you don't realize is when Nico contacted you, he placed a curse on Sportsology.
He couldn't have because we have been around since the year 2000. And so I think if he did do that, it didn't work.
Right.
We wouldn't be here today, Mike. We've got the greatest show on earth.
So good try. And same to those people who put the latest shot up of Bigfoot that the New York Post posted, and it's on my Twitter feed at Sportsology. I laughed. I got a great laugh. Ever since I've been like 8 years old, there's never been this great picture of Bigfoot. So now they finally have one that's clearer. And if you look at the picture, Mike, it kind of looks like one of the rejects from like the Planet of the Apes, but not the most recent, like the ones from the 70s. It doesn't look great.
Are we sure it's not Ted Cassidy from the $6 Million Man when he played Bigfoot?
Or one of the the Geico Bigfoot guy. Could be him. Yes. He's probably still looking for a paycheck. But that's it. That's it for the game. We'll catch our rear next time.
My man.